The observation deck of the Galactic Conservation Station overlooked the sprawling biodome that housed Theta-9's most dangerous specimen, the Kralvex, an apex predator that had driven 3 separate civilizations to extinction. Ambassador Zixthor of the Pleiadian Council stood with his delegation, their translucent skin rippling with barely contained anxiety as they watched the human scientist approach the containment field. Dr. Sarah Chen had insisted on entering the habitat alone. The other species had protested vehemently. Humans, they argued, were Category 7 deathworlders. Durable, yes, but reckless beyond measure. The Kralvex stood 4 meters tall, possessed razor-sharp claws that could slice through starship hull plating, and had a bite force that could crush titanium. It had killed the last research team of 6 armed Vrexian warriors in under 30 seconds. "This is madness," chirped Clinic, the avian researcher, her feathers puffing in distress. "The human will be slaughtered. We should abort this immediately." Sarah checked her equipment one final time. Nothing but a standard research tablet and a medical kit. No weapons, no armor, just the thin fabric of her expedition suit. Through the reinforced viewing glass, the aliens watched her step through the energy barrier into the Kralvex's territory. The creature noticed immediately. Its 6 eyes locked onto the new presence in its domain. The Kralvex was magnificent in its horror, a serpentine body covered in obsidian scales, 4 powerful limbs ending in talons, and a mouth filled with crystalline teeth that could inject neurotoxin. It had evolved on a world where everything was either predator or prey, and there was never any doubt which category it belonged to. Sarah stood still, her heart rate steady at 60 beats per minute. The monitoring equipment on the observation deck registered her biometrics with alarm bells that the aliens couldn't comprehend. How was she so calm? The Kralvex circled, its massive form moving with serpentine grace. It was testing her, looking for the fear response that triggered its hunting instinct. Sarah slowly crouched, making herself smaller, her eyes never leaving the predator. She reached into her kit and pulled out a compressed protein bar, part of her own rations. What is she doing? Zixthor's translator struggled to convey his panic. She's feeding it? But Sarah wasn't feeding it. She was eating the bar herself, maintaining eye contact, showing the Kralvex that she was neither prey nor a threat. She was something it had never encountered before. Indifferent. The predator's instincts, honed over millions of years, screamed confusion. This small creature should be running, should be dying, should be easy. Instead, it stood its ground with a confidence that read as dominance. The Kralvex charged. What happened next would be analyzed in xenobiology labs for decades. Sarah didn't run. As the creature lunged, she moved laterally with explosive speed, her reflexes, sharpened by a childhood in Earth's 1G gravity, allowing her to read the attack trajectory. The Kralvex's claws missed her by centimeters, but Sarah didn't retreat. She advanced, her hand shot out and grabbed one of the creature's secondary limbs. The Kralvex shrieked, confused, as this tiny being held its appendage with an iron grip. Sarah's muscles, evolved to fight Earth's gravity every single day, strained against the alien anatomy. The predator tried to pull away, but Sarah had leverage, positioning, and something the Kralvex had never faced before: endurance. On the observation deck, the aliens watched in stunned silence as the human and the apex predator grappled. The Kralvex twisted, snapped, clawed at the air. Sarah held on, her body moving with brutal efficiency, redirecting the creature's momentum against itself. Sweat poured down her face, but her breathing remained controlled. "She's using persistence hunting," whispered Dr. Vorn, the Aquarian biologist. "Ancient human technique. They don't overpower prey. They exhaust it. And exhaust it she did." For 20 minutes, Sarah maintained her hold, constantly moving, never allowing the Kralvex to regain its balance or use its full strength. The creature's movements became sluggish, its breathing labored. It had never encountered prey that simply wouldn't die, wouldn't tire, wouldn't stop. Then Sarah did something that made every alien in the observation deck recoil in horror. She smiled. With a calculated movement, she shifted her grip to the Kralvex's primary jaw. The creature tried to bite, to inject its deadly neurotoxin, but Sarah's hand was already past the danger point, pressing against the hinge of its mandible. She pushed, using her body weight and the leverage of her position. The sound of tearing cartilage echoed through the biodome. The Kralvex's jaw dislocated with a sickening crack. Sarah didn't stop. Her other hand found purchase on the creature's throat plates, and she pulled, ripping through the softer tissue beneath the armored scales. "Stop her!" Kleenex shrieked. "She's killing it!" But no one moved to intervene. They were paralyzed by the scene unfolding before them, a scene that contradicted everything they knew about the natural order. Sarah continued her brutal work, her hands moving with surgical precision despite the violence. The Kralvex, the unstoppable killing machine, the extinction event on legs, collapsed. Its breathing was ragged, its body broken not by weapons or technology, but by bare hands and relentless determination. Finally, Sarah stepped back. The Kralvex lay subdued, alive but completely dominated. She pulled out her tablet and began recording observational notes, her voice steady as if she'd just completed a routine lab procedure. "Subject shows clear submission behaviors," she spoke into the recorder. Establishing dominance through physical confrontation was successful. The Kralvex recognizes superior predator status when confronted with overwhelming persistence and strategic violence. Sarah looked up at the observation deck, directly at the cameras. Her face was scratched, her suit torn, but she was smiling, not with cruelty, but with the satisfaction of a job well done. "The thing about apex predators," she said, knowing they could hear her, "is that they've never had to fight something that hunts by simply refusing to give up. On Earth, we didn't become the dominant species because we were the strongest or the fastest. We became dominant because we were the most stubborn." She walked toward the exit, leaving the Kralvex whimpering behind her. As she passed through the energy barrier, she added one more observation that would forever change how the galaxy viewed humanity. Every creature has a breaking point. Humans just have a higher tolerance for reaching ours. And when we do, she glanced back at the broken apex predator, we take everything else with us. Ambassador Zix Thor stood in silence, his diplomatic training utterly inadequate for processing what he'd witnessed. Beside him, Kleenex feathers had gone completely flat against her body, a sign of existential terror in her species. "Are all humans like this?" the ambassador finally managed to ask. Dr. Vorn, who had studied humanity longer than anyone in the delegation, responded with a statement that would be quoted in xenoanthropology texts across the galaxy. "No, Ambassador. Dr. Chen is actually considered quite gentle by their standards." The aliens watched as Sarah disappeared into the medical bay for a routine checkup, humming an old Earth tune about survival. In the biodome, the Kralvex, previously considered the most dangerous organism in known space, refused to move from the corner where Sarah had left it. The galaxy had just learned an important lesson. Humans weren't just from a death world. They were the reason their world qualified for that classification in the first place.